Alright, how's it going everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac and I'm here with a video on Iron Man 2, the sequel to Iron Man 1 in the Marvel Iron Man trilogy. And I'm going to be talking about it, giving my thoughts and opinions on it. Finally got back to watching these Marvel movies. I have like about four to five left, so there's definitely going to be a little bit of work before we're done with the Marvel binge that I've been on. But I've been enjoying it, so we're just going to keep on going, right? But without further ado, let me get into the non-spoiler review for this one, and after that, I'm gonna get into the spoilers. So I'm gonna be honest, no spoilers for right now. This movie's mid. Like that's the best way that I can put it. It is a 5 out of 10 for sure, and sucks because I hate saying that. I love Iron Man, superhero all the time, and I love Robert Downey Jr. He's a great actor for him, right? But I just couldn't stand watching this movie. It was so boring. It literally is a 5 out of 10. It is the middle of the pack. It is the best definition of a mid movie, which hurts because the last movie was so good. I really enjoyed the last movie. Like it wasn't like a peak movie and it wasn't amazing, but it was good. And that was enough to carry me into the sequel to be interested and have vested interest in it, right? But this movie did not do that. Not at all. I thought the villain was okay. I thought the plot of the movie was alright. It wasn't anything crazy. I thought that the action was worse than the last one, even though the first one had a lesser budget, which makes no sense to me. And then overall, I just wasn't that interested in this movie. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. It was okay. I hope that the third one is better. I know that Marvel is still getting into the swing of things because this movie came out after The Incredible Hulk and after Iron Man 1, so it's only the third movie in their foray, right? But I really hope that Iron Man 3 is better because this movie was just whack, bro. But regardless, let me get into the spoilers. So, as per usual, know that I am going to be talking about spoilers for this movie. While it has been 13 years, that doesn't mean that I can just go into it if people haven't watched it because this is the first time I ever watched this movie. But just know I will be spoiling this. So if you don't want to get spoiled, go watch the movie or leave the video now. My video will always be here as long as the YouTube just doesn't explode or whatever. So without further ado, here come the spoilers. So this movie starts off with, as best as I can tell, 20 minutes of Tony Stark being Tony Stark. And that's him just partying, showing that he's at the top of the world, with him revealing that he's Iron Man, and the legal troubles that come with that. Having the US military and the government on your back about sharing your information about the Iron Man suit and the specs on it, and having basically that be turned into mass producing Iron Man suits so the US military can just basically monitor the world. They'll be a superpower. So Tony is just like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to have you guys turn this into a weapon. Iron Man is a shield, not a sword. And so Justin Hammer, who he is in the Iron Man comics, and I only know that because Iron Man Armored Adventures has a lot of these characters like Obadiah Stane, Justin Hammer, James Rhodes, Pepper Potts, Tony himself, Happy, all these people, right? I just find it so cool seeing them here in the live screen. But regardless, he's there testifying against Tony and all that. Like, yeah, this is a weapon. It's not a shield. It's a sword. Blah 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 blah. And Tony just basically makes a mockery out of all of them, just showing that like, hey, I'm more trustworthy than the guy that you have over there, and pointing to Justin Hammer, and just basically like, I'm gonna keep my Iron Man suit. You guys can f off basically, and then everybody just hates him, right? Well, at least the government hates him. The people love him. And so he's just chilling and all that. And we have another person, the villain, and he's been crafting, he's trying to form the arc reactor that Tony has. And the reason he can do that is because his father was working with Howard Stark. And so they had differences, they had a difference in dispute, and he got deported. And so he died recently, and his son, who was raised in Siberia, basically had to make the arc reactor himself. And he's working, he was plotting, and they go to Monaco. I think it's supposed to be Morocco, but I don't know. And Tony's there, Pepper's there, all this. And Pepper was recently made CEO of Stark Industries, and so she has a lot of say on the decisions. You have Natalia, and she's actually Black Widow, and I thought that was pretty cool. So she works for Shield, but Tony doesn't know that. And so she's working for Stark Industries as an assistant, but in reality, she's Black Widow. And so she's with them now. They're all in Monaco, and Tony decides to go do a race because he's dying. The arc reactor, he's using an element that's killing his body slowly, and so he needs to find a way to use a different element, right? And he's getting crazy because of that. He's doing things that he shouldn't be doing, and it's causing a lot of damage to a lot of people, including himself. It's self-destructive. And so he goes to do a race, and he's doing really good. He's like a F1, a Formula One racer, and he's doing really good. So he's swerving through the lanes in a brand new Aventador, and the villain shows up. He traveled all the way to Monaco because he has connects, and he pulls out the weapon that he made, the arc reactor whip weapon that he made, right? It kind of reminds me of the electric guy from Iron Man Armor Adventures who had those whips, but in a different way. So this guy's Russian, right? And so Tony, his car gets sliced in half, and they have this crazy battle. Tony pulls out the Iron Man suit because Pepper just comes over with Happy, gives it to him. And I just find it so funny how Pepper's actor, right? I gotta look up her name, but she had the most emotional reaction to seeing Tony almost die because she loves him, They have a relationship going. And so when she pulls up, she's just like, "What are you doing? Get in the car!" And then Tony's like, "Relax, relax. It's okay." A man's cool as a cucumber under pressure. And so he manages to beat him, and they put him in jail. Tony goes to interview him to ask him a couple questions, and he basically finds out, yeah, this guy had a father. That father worked for Howard and all that stuff, and that he knows about the arc reactor and his condition, and he knows, like, yeah, I'm gonna come after you. I'm gonna ruin your life the way you ruined mine. And so Tony's just basically like, what's going on? What is happening? And this part of the movie is like, oh shoot, Tony's dying, but he didn't tell Pepper. So now he's gonna throw a party for his birthday. He's gonna act like an idiot. And so Natalia, she's basically helping Tony and all that. And Tony's like, what would you do if you found out that your dad or that you're dying, right? And she's like, I'd live the best that I could, I'd live with the people that I love, and I'll do whatever I want to do. And so he throws that party, he gets super drunk, super wasted, and he just starts acting stupid, right? Even though Tony's not doing anything evil with his power, he still is abusing it for his own selfish desires, like using it as a party trick in his own home. And or James Rhodes, excuse me. He's just like, yo, Tony, stop doing this, bro. Stop doing this. You're being dumb. And then Tony's just like, dog, you don't want this. You don't want this, Rhodes. You don't want this, Rhodey. And so they just start fighting because Rhodey put on one of the Iron Man suits, and now they're just beefing, right? And Rhodey beats him up. He cooks him because Rhodey is a military trained goat. Basically, I don't know how else to describe him. And so he's cooking Tony and all that, and he takes the suit with him. He brings it to the military, basically stealing. And so Natasha, I just at this point, it's Natasha Romanoff. She takes Tony to Nick Fury, right? And this is where we see more of Shield. And Nick Fury's just basically like, yo, I have this stuff from Howard Stark, your father. I knew him very well, and I need you to solve it because this is what's gonna preserve your life. Because he had big plans for you, Tony. Live up to them. And then Tony's just like, you really think I can do that? He's like, yeah. Do you believe that? And so he leaves him there. He can't go anywhere. He can't contact anybody. And so he starts working, right? He starts working, doing all this stuff, and it's just not making sense. And so he goes to see Pepper, and he wants to talk to her, just basically to apologize, and he's not doing good and all that. And Pepper, funnily enough, is actually allergic to strawberries. Who would have thought? But regardless, he's trying to talk. She's not listening, and he was gonna tell her about the fact that he's dying. She didn't listen, and so he got kicked out. And then Natasha being there, since she's still the secretary for Stark Enterprises, is just basically like, yo, you can either go home by yourself, or I'm gonna have somebody take you there. And so he goes back home after seeing something in Pepper's office. And so he realizes that the neurons in his brain fire. And now he's cooking to the compound. And now he's cooking up everything. And so he manages to find a way to create a new element on the periodic table, which is crazy, but I guess it just goes to show that Tony Stark is just that smart. So after making that new element, Tony goes to the new presentation that's going on. And this presentation is for Hammer Industries. Justin Hammer from all the way in the beginning of the movie. And Tony turned in the Iron Man suit to Justin Hammer. And so the military and Hammer Industries are basically working together to make this new line of drones and tech to just basically have new weapons ready, you know. And Tony shows up because he realizes what's going on. Somebody is making these weapons for Hammer, and somebody is going to destroy him. And he knows who it is because the man literally called him. Because the guy from Russia that we saw earlier in the movie, he basically got hired by Hammer. He got broken out of prison by Hammer, and he's been working for him ever since, right? And so that guy who made the arc reactor, he calls Tony because Hammer's like basically he's trying to put the hammer down on him because the guy he's like, all right, instead of making suits, we're gonna make drones. Instead of making drones, they're not gonna be ready yet. And so Hammer's like, yo, I'm the one who has the leash here. You're the dog, right? And so Hammer leaves two bodyguards in the room. He leaves to go to the presentation. Those guys died. Poor guy sent him to their death. And so the guy calls Tony. And he's basically like, yo, in 40 minutes, I'm going to ruin your life. And so Tony, being smart, uses this technology to find where that is. And he takes the suit and he goes over to the presentation. He tells Rhodey, like, yo, something is going on. Just trust me, okay? Something bad is about to happen. And on cue, it happens. Something bad did happen. And so all the drones and the war machine that Rhodey is riding in basically all get corrupted by the guy. And so now it's just a huge battle between Tony versus all the drones and War Machine, right? And they manage to beat him. And Natasha basically frees Rhodey from the control that the suit had. And now is the final fight between Tony and War Machine versus the villain, which I still don't even know what his name is. So Tony and Rhodey are fighting this guy, and they beat him really fast. Regardless, they managed to beat him using a whole like blast created from them shooting the repulsor beams in a centerized location. So where he was at, where the villain was at, and they beat him. They bring back the suits back to where Pepper was at because they were gonna self-destruct, and they save her. And so Tony and Pepper basically like, hey, I'm sorry, all this stuff, I was dying, but I'm back now. I'm the re-up, the re-up. And Pepper's just like, I quit. I'm done. I don't want to be the CEO anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm so sick of it. I hate it. I'm so stressed out. And then Tony's just like, yeah, don't worry. I get it. And so they all have a happily ever after with Natasha leaving Stark Industries and Nick Fury going up to Tony, just basically like, yo, here's your report on yourself from Natasha. You're a self-absorbed narcissist and you have self-destructive tendencies. So Iron Man should be in the Avengers, but Tony Stark shouldn't. You should be a consultant. And so Tony's just like, all right, whatever, I don't care. And then he goes to get his Medal of Honor from the government because Rhodes being from the military and Tony just being a millionaire, they they gave him medals because they saved the day. They generally did save the day. So shout out to them. And that's basically the end of the movie. We see preludes to the Avengers, which won't be happening because Thor is shown in the next movie. Or not shown in this movie, but like he does have a movie after this movie, so it's like, oh shoot, that's cool. And it just shows signs that they were building things bigger than they thought because Iron Man 1 was like the start, but it was just bigger plans in the works for Marvel at this point. So you could really see how things were going. But yeah, this movie, it's okay. I liked Tony and Howard's relationship and how they expand upon that. How Howard wasn't the best father, but he did have plans for Tony. Like he wanted him to succeed and believe in the idea of technology creating the future and all that. And so he entrusted his plans to Tony. I thought that was cool. I like Pepper and Rhodes just basically getting more screen time. Also, Don Cheadle, by the way, that is not the same person that was Rhodes back in the first movie, and I knew this. I knew this from the beginning, but I didn't recognize it because I saw this version of Rhodey all the way back in Civil War, so I knew this was going to be him, right? But seeing that version of Rhodey in Iron Man 1, it just didn't connect. I forgot about it, right? So I thought that was cool that they have it here now. I know it's because of like contract disputes and all that, so it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And in this universe, Rhodey is just Don Cheadle now. But regardless, this movie was alright. The soundtrack, forgettable. They had some branded songs that I thought were pretty cool, but besides that, it was alright. They had the characters. The characters were the best part for sure, and I just mean that as in like Tony. Pepper, Rhodey, you have Natasha, Nick Fury. I thought they were definitely the best parts. Dustin Hammer was whack. The Russian guy was really whack. And just overall, this movie wasn't as good as Iron Man 1 in no way, shape, or form. And I really just hope that Iron Man 3 delivers because this movie was definitely a disappointment for me. And it sucks because I love Iron Man, like I mentioned earlier. I love Iron Man. So the fact that this movie just underdelivered significantly, it sucks. And it has me worried about Iron Man 3. But I'm going to keep up hope. I'm going to believe that Marvel's going to deliver. And yeah, I'm just going to keep on going, right? But thank you all for watching. Hope y'all enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.